The performer asks the spectator to name a playing card. They select the Jack of Hearts. The playing card is then signed by the spectator and handed back to the performer. The performer loses the card somewhere in the middle of the deck. The deck is then passed to the spectator for a shuffle. The pack is returned to the performer, where he flips the bottom card, the Queen of Spades, and hands it to the spectator. The spectator holds the Queen of Spades in their hand. The performer spreads through the pack and reveals one card to be face down. This card is presumed to be the Jack of Hearts, but is revealed as the Queen of Spades. The spectator reveals the card in their hand to be their signed Jack of Hearts. What is good, everybody? It's Reed, and welcome back to another video. Today we got an awesome tutorial. We got our first trick. This is a trick I call Boomerang. It's something I've had with me for a very long time. One of the first ideas I came up with. It's just a few basic principles put together and presented in a certain way, but it is super strong. I don't perform it much to this day because it's more of a beginner trick, but when I do, I still get great reactions. It's a really great trick, really strong, and it's got a great little kicker that really fools people. I hope you guys liked the little intro at the end. That's how I'm planning on doing these trick videos or trick tutorials. I'm going to demonstrate how the trick would look, how it would be performed to the best of my abilities, and then we will get right into the tutorial. The videos won't quite have the same breakdown as the sleight of hand or move tutorials, but we're still going to have a breakdown and another uses and ideas section where some of the gold will be and how to really take whatever trick it is to the next level. So without any further ado, grab yourself a deck and get ready to learn Boomerang. So Boomerang. Where to get started? Boomerang is a fun trick to perform. Boomerang is a pretty easy trick to learn, and it's something that I've had with me for a very long time. So let's get right into how to perform Boomerang. Boomerang starts with a selection. Now, a quick note on selections. A lot of magicians do the classic pick a card, any card. I don't like that so much, and I know a lot of magicians these days don't like that so much. I try to stay away from that. To the best of my abilities, if I'm not using a force or something like that, I will just have them name any card. That is pretty much the way that I start all of my tricks. You can start Boomerang however you like to get a selection, whether it's a dribble or a riffle or a spread, but for me it's always going to be a free choice, and I'm just going to ask the spectator to name a card. Okay? So, first step is to get that selected card. So you have them name a card, and then you go through the deck and you find whatever card they name. So in this case, they're going to name the Jack of Hearts. Now this trick is great to do with a signed playing card. So the reason we have people sign playing cards is to prove that there is only one of that card in the whole world. If your signature's on it, we can't have a duplicate of that card, right? So you have them sign the playing card, okay? So now we need to have that card returned to the pack. And the secret is, we need to control that card to either the top or the bottom. It really doesn't matter in this case. The control we're going to use is the one that I taught in the false overhand retention shuffles for beginners. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. This is a good little control that's pretty basic to do. Alright, so you're going to have them call stop whenever you want by riffling or dribbling the cards, okay? So they call stop, and you have them replace their card where they call stop. And then you're just going to take the pack and you're going to dribble it on top and catch a break right above their card, okay? So their card right now is on the bottom. Again, if you want to learn how to do this, I go over it in great detail in the beginner overhand false retention shuffle video. So we have our break, and now we need to control that card to the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to transfer the break into a grip for shuffling. We're going to shuffle off the top pack and then throw on the bottom pack, and now we've controlled their card to the top, okay? But as I mentioned in the last video, you don't want to stop with one false shuffle. You always want to mix a few together. So then I might do a few other false shuffles to really sell that we've lost their card in the pack. So the reason I say that it doesn't matter if you control the card to the top or the bottom for this trick is because using some of these retention and false overhand shuffles, we can just shift it to where we need it to be. All right, the easiest way is to have it on top, because for this trick we need to control it second from the bottom. Okay, we need to control their card second from the bottom, and that's really easy to do when the card is on top. So if you do a control where their card ends up on the bottom, just use the bottom to top overhand retention shuffle or any other shift that you know to get it to the top. If you do a control that ends with their card on the top, then you're good to go into the next phase. Okay, so you just want to end with it there. So once it's on the top, then we're going to go ahead and do the bottom retention shuffle, but with their card on the top instead. And what that's going to do is pull their card second from the top. Okay, so again, how that one works really quick, you're applying pressure with the fingers underneath, pressure with the thumb on top, and then you go to pull the whole deck, and the bottom and top cards will stick to those fingers. You let the top card fall, and then you shuffle off on top. And that will leave their card second from the top, and that's the position we want it in. So of course, if you know any controls or any other ways of getting their card second from the bottom, go ahead and do that. I don't do this trick with this control, I do it with better controls. But at this point we haven't learned those yet, so I won't go over them in this video. I'll show you a way to do it with what we have so far. And this is that way. So after you've given the cards a good mix, all right, and their card again is second from the bottom. They don't know this, of course. So then you're gonna say, all right, I need any random card. So let's just take the bottom card, for example, okay? I'll flip it, and I'll put it face down in your palm, okay? Now what you're doing there is we're doing a double lift. So you come in, you get your strike double lift, and you go ahead and you do a double lift and you flip, okay? What this is gonna do is turn over their card and the card that you just showed them, okay? So for the double lift, I would recommend just coming in and getting a strike right away. If you're still struggling with the strike, you know, get a break under two cards in whatever method you like to use, the pinky count or whatever, and then you can hold that break as you're providing a little bit more patter, and then when you're ready to do the flip, you just say, okay, we're gonna flip the bottom card, you just grip right under that break, and you're good to go. Okay, so now you've done this. Now, what you don't want to do is just take that card off, because then for some reason there's going to be another face down card, right? For this to make sense, if we're flipping the bottom card, they see the Queen of Diamonds. So when we take it off, they should see the Queen of Diamonds again, not another face down card. So what you got to do is a wrist kill. I touched on this a little bit in one of the past videos. But a wrist kill is just tilting the wrist in to not expose that, in this case, bottom of the deck, okay? So you do the double lift, and you say, okay, can you hold out your hand for me? And I'm gonna place this card in your palm. So then you just take it off the deck, and as you do that, you bring up the wrist. Now you gotta be careful here, because you don't wanna bring it up and then pull the card off and flash the card. So you need to bring the card at an angle that's down off the deck, as you're rotating the deck back. You can't wait too long and go like this, okay? Because then you'll flash the top card. So it's just got to be a smooth motion that's like that. You know, you want to do it at some speed, and that'll help cover any slight discrepancies that you might have. But the general motion, okay, just put that card at an angle so that the back is, you know, aiming at their eye line. And just as it's starting to come forward, you peel the deck back. You want this in their hand, okay? You could do this on a table and have them cover it. I just like it better right in their palm. You can have them cover it if you'd like, but I like to do this straight in their hands, okay? This is what's so great about this trick, the in the hands switch part of it, all right? But now, of course, since we've done a double lift, we're actually switching that card that they believe, in this case is the Eight of Hearts, for their sign playing card, okay? So one more time, we show the Eight of Hearts, we say, okay, can you hold out your palm for me? Perfect, they hold it out their palm, you flip it, and you say, all right, I'll put the Eight of Hearts in your hand. You want to reiterate that that's the Eight of Hearts as you're doing it. You don't want to make it seem weird, but you just want to subtly plant the seed that, okay, I'm giving you the Eight of Hearts. Do a bit of what we learned in that last video. Hold it out like this, do a few transfers, that double lift. You don't want to do quick and just get rid of it. That looks suspicious. So you're going to take the 8 and you're going to say, okay, so I'm going to put the 8 in your palm, and you drop it right in their palm. One reason you don't want to just give them the card like this because then it's easy to flip over. If it's in their palm, they can't flip it over to look at it, and it'll just remain like this. Same thing if it's on the table and then they put their hand over it. So both of those ways work. That's a principle that I use a lot. Whenever you're giving a spectator a card to hold, just have them put it flat in their palm. Because to them, it still feels like they're holding it, because they are. It just doesn't give them the ability to flip the card over when you don't want them to. So, we've made the switch. Now what? All we need to do is cut that 8, which they believe is right here, into the middle of the deck. So I'll just do a kind of a swing cut, okay, where you're peeling up the deck with the index finger, and you're kicking it over, and you're grabbing it with the other hand and putting it on top. You can just do any basic cut you want, but you just do this in an off moment. Right as you place that card into their hand, you've killed the wrist, just come and just cut right into the middle, okay? So I'll just show you what that all looks like at speed. This is about how I do it. So you flip the 8. Okay, I'll put the 8 in your hand like that. Perfect. Okay, because you want to conceal that 8, right? You don't want to be in this position where the top and bottom of the deck have the backs of the cards. You really don't want to be in that position for very long. So right as you hand it out, you just come here, making sure not to drop your wrist to expose that. Okay, you just cut right into the middle, and now the deck's back to normal. But what you've done there is you've cut their face down card into the middle of the deck, okay? And that's what we want. Now you want to go into this last part of the trick pretty quickly after you've given them that card in their hand. The longer that you wait between revealing the card you put in their hand and the longer you wait to reveal this flipped card, the more time that they will have to think, oh, he must have switched it, he must have switched it. We want this to seem as impossible as we can. And one of the best ways to do that is quickly get into revealing one of these cards. So they believe the 8's here, we have our wrist killed, we're gonna cut the 8 into the middle, and now we're already face up, which is nice because I like to do the spread face up, and I would recommend you do it face up for this trick so that you don't instantly reveal what that face down card is. So now you say, now I'm just gonna spread through the deck. And what was your card again? The Jack of Hearts? Okay, perfect. And you'll notice that one card is face down out of all of these cards. All right? So as you're spreading, just before you reveal that card, you want to ask them what their card was, just to remind you. But why you're doing this is to plant in their mind that this is their card, right? You say, all right, I'm going to spread through the deck. What was your card again? They're going to say Jack of Hearts. And then you're going to notice right away that there's a face down card. They are going to instantly jump to the fact that that is their card. No question, they're going to believe this is their Jack of Hearts. And at this point, they are probably wondering why the heck you have an 8 in their hand, and they're very confused about that. So we spread the deck. What was your card again? Jack of Hearts. Okay, perfect. You'll notice there's one card face down, and then make sure you spread all the way to the end to show them it's the only card that's face down. And then you take it out of the deck. You don't say the Jack of Hearts. You don't tell them that this is their card, right? We're not telling them that. We just planted that idea in their head, and they're going to come to that conclusion on their own. And then you just flip and reveal the 8 of Hearts. Instantly, right? They're imagining this is the Jack of Hearts. Their mind is going to be very confused. They're going to say, wait, the 8 of Hearts? And then they're going to say, wait, I thought the 8 of Hearts was the one he put in my hand. And then, well, for most people, that's when it's going to click. Then you invite them to flip the card in their hand, and it is their signed, in this case, Jack of Hearts. So the reason this trick is so strong is because of the presentation and the few subtleties at the end, right? If you just took this and you just flipped the 8 of clubs and you said, okay, and now look, all of a sudden, the 8 of clubs is face up in the deck and your card is in your hand, right? That's not good. You really want to sell that moment. Once the switch has been done, we don't want to put any ideas in their mind that it was a switch, right? So that's why we're quickly getting their attention off of that card and to the spread, okay? Right? We spread and we ask them what their card was, and they tell us, and then they instantly see a face down card. So there's no question in their mind that that's their card. And the other great thing is their card isn't in the deck anywhere to be found, because it's in their hand, of course. But that further sells them that it's this card. They're not going to think in a million years that this is the 8 of Hearts, because we literally just put it in their hand, right? And that's kind of why we want to not rush, but have a decent pace between putting that card down, doing the cut, and then going into the spread. and asking them that question. But do ask them that question. Do ask them, what was your card again, as you're spreading just before you get to that, because we want them to believe that this is their card. And that's where the kind of kicker is in this trick. That's what really gets them, right? And now milk this moment a little bit, you know, hold that card. Don't get close to that card, you know. We don't want them to think we could have switched it, but just hold it face down, flip it, and then you don't even need to say anything. Just let them react how they're going to react. Some people are just going to flip this card instantly and be surprised. Some people are going to think about it and be like, what? At this point you can say, and your card was the Jack, right? Now go ahead and flip that. And then it's crazy because they just saw you put the 8 in their hand, right? And they're not even expecting a switch at this point because this wasn't their card. You know, if you did this with their card, if you had the Jack on top and you flipped it and you put it like this, a lot of people are going to think you switched it. People will tend to think that when you're giving them their own card, you've switched it, right? That's just a thing that people tend to think when you're doing magic on them. People who have seen a fair amount of tricks too tend to think that if you're handing me my card, it's probably not my card. But if you're just giving me a random card, their guards are down. And that's why you can do this switch so effectively, and that's why it fools so many people. So time for some other uses and ideas. This is a smaller trick, so there's not quite as much, but there's a few really good ideas that you can do to evolve this trick and make it a bit better. You know, I haven't quite taught some of these things on the channel, so this is going to be more for people who kind of already have this in their repertoire, but I'm going to teach most of this very soon, so stick around, okay? So obviously the first thing, I've kind of mentioned it, if you know a better control, you don't need to use that control, right? If you can just do this, take their card, the 2 of diamonds, and lose it into the middle and control it to the top, right? And then you just do the retention shuffle. That is a lot better than doing this and the pinky break. When you can do a control where you're not shuffling the deck and you're not doing something that looks like card manipulation, that is when the control is at its best form. So if you know a control that you can invisibly shift the card to the top or the bottom, then use that. By all means, use that. That's what I'd use. You know, I use a lot of different controls for this, where I just take their card, put it in the middle of the deck right here, and then I've already controlled it to the top, and then I just quickly shift it second from the top, because you're not doing a bunch of shuffling and all that stuff. So it really just leaves in their mind that you just put that card into the middle of the deck and that's it, right? If you put the card into the middle of the deck and then start shuffling, then maybe you controlled it. That could come into their mind. But still, if you do all these false shuffles well and you do them quick enough and you do them back to back and in combination, it won't look fishy and you'll be able to fool anyone. The other thing I like to do is, once I have their card second from the bottom, I will riffle off 2 cards, right, with the thumb riffle, and I'll palm the cards off. So for me, I'm going to use a Gambler's Cop. No question, any day of the week. It will be a Gambler's Cop, and I will teach all about the Gambler's Cop. I love this palm, by far the best palm you can do. A lot of people seem to be afraid of it. Don't be afraid, it's really easy, and you can do so many amazing things with it, okay? So whatever palm you like to do, I would recommend Gambler's Cop. Don't really like the classic palm, not supernatural. So yeah, you cop the cards off, you let them shuffle. This is really strong because then there's absolutely no way in their mind you could be controlling the cards, right? So you take the cards back, you replace the cards on the bottom, and now their card's second from the bottom again, and you can go right into it without doing any shuffles or anything. This just makes it seem a little bit more impossible. When you do this final switch, they won't even be able to fathom that it was a switch, because you'd have to locate their card to do that, right? So if you want to palm off, that's a strategy that I use, and when I'm performing this, I will always palm off and let them shuffle, just because I like to have spectator shuffle whenever I can. The reason for that is just, it makes the magic stronger. And a lot of people like to ask to shuffle, so if you have those kind of people and you let them shuffle, they're not likely to ask you to shuffle in that one moment when you can't let them shuffle, you know? You never really want to say no when someone asks to shuffle. And the best way that you can do that is using palming. So you can just palm off the cards if they are in an order that you need them to remain in, and you let them shuffle, or you just let them shuffle before the trick, and then most of the time they're not going to ask to shuffle again. If you let them shuffle often, then they probably won't ask when it counts if your deck's stacked and you can't shuffle. You can have them shuffle, you know, before they even pick a card, before the trick starts. I would always recommend that too, even though it literally does nothing. If they shuffle before you have them pick a card, that's always nice and will let the spectator think that, you know, the cards were well mixed beforehand. You know, if you've shown them they're all different and then you let them shuffle, just gives a little bit more fairness. With this, if you let them shuffle after they've picked it and put their card back in the middle, it's quite a bit stronger, as you can tell, because then their card is totally lost in their mind and there's no way you can know where it is, so it makes that last switch seem more impossible. All right guys, so that is a boomerang. I hope you guys like that trick. It's one of the first kind of ideas I came up with, or presentations. You know, none of these principles are new or anything like that, but the presentation is something that I think is quite strong, especially for the simplicity of a lot of these moves. A lot of these subtleties are important, so, you know, keep them in mind and make sure you use them when you're doing the trick. You know, that spread subtlety where you ask them their card is important. It helps cement the idea that that is their card and gets their mind off the potential of that being a switch, and it really screws with people at the end. It's a great kicker. Come up with your own way of getting their card second from the bottom, you know, whatever you think is strong, whatever's best for you. The control in this is just something that you can do with what I've taught so far. All right, so please like, you know, comment if you need any help with any of the moves or any of the tricks. Please get in contact with me. Links to my socials or email is in the description. Please subscribe. We got some more great tricks coming, some more great moves coming. In 3 or 4 days we should have another video out. Not too sure what I'm going to teach yet. Some move of some sort, something hopefully a little bit more exciting than a double lift. Don't forget to subscribe for more great tricks, and I'll catch you in the next video.